Wow. Hey, much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. That means pure life. My people, pure life. That's the saying we say in my country. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys being here once again, making the time out of your busy day to be here. And today I just wanted to, well, today's video right now, this video is we're gonna basically go over some more stuff since we have it fresh on our mind. We did the video yesterday with Hermetics, the origin of Hermetics, and how that influenced many of the false doctrines of today and religions and Masonry and a lot of things, right? Occultism, esoteric things, you know, a lot of legends, a lot of mythology, all that. So since that is fresh in our mind from yesterday, I wanted to continue today, show you what else it influenced. And that would be a lot of the Kemetic science, so-called Kemetic science, and this Metu Nefer, this whole Afrocentric, what I call Afrocentric Hermetics. Rosicrucian, specifically, Afrocentric Hermetics. And when it comes to secret societies and Masonic orders, one of the most I guess, prominent Masonic orders that really followed the Hermetica or Hermetics is the Rosicrucians. So it's going to all link back to what we learned yesterday, guys. All right. It literally links back to what we learned yesterday. Um, this is before I begin, just like, in case you missed it, I dropped this 5-hour, almost 6-hour video yesterday. Hermetics, Origin of False Doctrines, Thoth, the hijack of hijacks, Angel, Enoch, Esoteric. I mean, that doesn't really describe all the info in this almost 6-hour video, but something like that. Once you watch it all, you'll understand what I mean. And then, so again, today we're just gonna continue with another branch of this Hermetics, and it's the Afrocentric one. All right. I'm gonna just show you. Hold on, let me go back. Because it's all there, the symbology, everything is a lot of the stuff. Yeah. All right. Again, Hermetic, Origin of False Doctrines, and Metu is literally Rosicrucian, Afrocentric, Hermetics. All right. But we're going to go over some things. Get it like it's the first time. Appreciate you guys tuning in, being here. All right. Thank you. All right. This is chapter 4. It says the myth of the Egyptian mystery system. Even after the 19th century, scholars showed that the reports of Greek visitors to Egypt misunderstood and misrepresented what they saw. The myth that Greek philosophy derived from Egypt is still in circulation. The myth is not only one believed, but it is being taught as if it were the truth, and as if no progress had been made in our knowledge of Egypt since the 18th century. How the myth has managed to survive despite all evidence and scholarship that demonstrates its falsity, it's a fascinating story. In this chapter, I will describe how the notion of Egyptian legacy was preserved in the literature and ritual of Freemasonry. It was from that source that Afrocentrists learned about. All right, that's where they got these Afrocentrists, later to be known as Pan-Africans, right? They got their literature and rituals from Freemasonry, and they learned about it, and then sought to find confirmation for the primacy of Egypt over Greece in the fantasies of ancient writers like Herodotus and Diodorus. In the next chapter, I will discuss how and why in this century Afrocentrist writers went beyond the claims of the Freemasons, who speak only of Egyptian origins and not of deliberate theft on the part of the ancient Greeks. If there were no mystery cults in Egypt, where did the idea of an Egyptian mystery system come from? George G. M. James, the author of Stolen Legacy, appears to have been misled by relying on Masonic literature rather than standard histories of religion as his principal source of information about the Egyptian mysteries. James cites a book written in 1909 by the Reverend Charles H. Vail, a 32nd degree Mason, called The Ancient Mysteries in Modern Masonry. In this book, Vail speaks of public mysteries such as those celebrated by Egyptian priests in the rites of the god Osiris and in the schools founded in Greece by initiates. He quotes directly from only one ancient source, Plutarch's on Isis and Osiris, which he claims is a description of the mysteries of Isis. With a lot of these mystery teachings, and when they're talking about, this religion that started Christianity, that all started in Egypt, all that stuff, that most of that literature comes out of Thoth. That's who the source is. All right, let me just read something before we go on. It says here, on the 42 books of philosophy, cataloged by Clement. Remember, these 42 books were written by Hermes or Thoth. All right, we got this in my Thoth video. Go check it out. The principal source of the notion that there was a corpus of Egyptian philosophy derives from yet another, and even later source, the so-called Hermetica, or Discourses of Hermes. All right, Hermetica, Hermetic teachings. These are writings that were supposed to have been composed at the beginning of time by Hermes the Thrice Great, or Trigemistus, grandson of the god Hermes, who was identified with the Egyptian god Thoth. All right, Thoth. The pagan writer Iamblichus, who believed that these discourses were authentic, says that one of the authors he consulted knew of 20,000 and another 36,525 such treatises. But the 2,000 discourses attributed to Hermes that have come down to us are not even Egyptian at all. So the ones they verified
Rather, they are treatises written in Greek centuries after the deaths of the famous Greek philosophers they purport to have inspired. So they actually verified some of these documents or whatever scrolls, and they found that they're actually written by Greek people.
So specifically Hermes, huh? Specifically Hermes. Thoth.
As Isaac Casabon showed in 1614, this small.
Hey guys, if I correct you in the chat or if I try to help you understand something, and that doesn't mean I'm coming at you, and it doesn't mean for you to take it all like personal and say, "Oh, bye," like, come on, man, like we just dialoguing too. I'm trying to help you understand something, because UBTB never said that all Freemasons are Boule or that all Black folks in the world are Boule. That Boule is particular to a specific group of people in the Americas, very elite, so-called Black Americans, with heritage in America, not Africa. Yeah, people have different orders and fraternities and secret societies they're part of, and they may use some of the same symbols, but that doesn't mean they're all the same people or associate with each other is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, sorry to interrupt, guys. I know you're into the reading. Just wanted to go ahead and just talk to people like like how I talk to people on day every day. Like, chill. I'm just trying to help you understand something. Let's not misquote others because they didn't say that.
Collection of writings could not be as early as in Blachius and other ancient writers thought, because its authors were much influenced by the very writers that Hermes, the thrice great, was supposed to have inspired, especially Plato and his much later followers, the Neoplatonists.
So right now he's talking about everything we learned about yesterday, right? Where all this really is coming from. The Hermetics and Hellenistic, what is that? Now, guys, sorry to confuse because I got to do this in real time. So confused Cobra, this is a great example. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, I think somebody gave him a membership the other day, like gifted him a membership. And now, he'll say things and I remember stuff. Like, guys, if I correct any of you again, I'm not coming at you. So stop taking it all personal. Like, you're real salty, confused Cobra. He says, you already said you don't want me teaching class here. I don't think anybody as a YouTuber, wants people to come to their live chat and start taking over the conversation. So I don't know what you mean by teach here. Like, if you want to teach, you could have said, hey, can I come on your channel and we can teach this? Hey, look at this information right here. Can we discuss this on your channel and I can do a live with you and we can do a build? Then that's a little different. All right. So stop being a little salty little punk, man. I'm teaching your class has way less knowledge of the words. Okay. Now you're talking shit. You still dream you learn more out of your videos than I still dream. I don't know even know what you're babbling about. So you obviously holding a grudge with me over something. You don't even know who you are. I know I've seen the name before you remember. I've seen the name, but somebody gifted you that membership, didn't they? Because you wouldn't be a member, you wouldn't be paying at the same time talking shit, talking about I don't have the knowledge here, right? I'm still missing the knowledge, yet you remember, right? So I know somebody gifted you the membership. Just tell everybody. I know I'm right. And this is why, guys, I don't want people giving out membership gifts because it gives it randomly to any person. Like Confused Cobra. His literally his name, Confused Cobra. Like, he don't even know how subliminal he's being with himself. He don't even yeah, you very confused, man. And you're babbling, man. Yeah, you're babbling straight up, man. So I don't even want to see you on my live chat anymore or on my channel. I don't care if you want to continue to follow me or unsubscribe, whatever, man. But you're out of here because you're shit talking when I wasn't even being rude or anything to you. I was trying to help you understand something. I wasn't even going at you. Everybody can see the chat. And you got all salty like a little punk, started talking shit about I don't know what. So you have a personal against me, and that's childish, man. Stop interrupting my life, man. And now you're out of my channel. Thanks for the membership, whatever. Let's go. Sorry, guys. So basically, we're gonna get to the juicy stuff, like just going over some stuff from older videos that kind of like uh goes with what we learned yesterday. This is another branch of Hermetics infiltrating other parts, other schools of knowledge, and then becoming follow, movements, and then a bunch of another hijack on top of hijacks. All right. Again, this all goes back to Hellenistic Hebrew, right? As they're saying here.
not to mention the Hellenistic Hebrew writers known as the Gnostics. All right, Hellenistic. There is no record of any Egyptian language original from which they were derived. Listen to this. This is deep. All right. They start creating this whole ancient Egypt because it was all here in Samaria, split up between our stories, split up in different. It became known as so-called Egypt, this mystery Egypt, right? That they created. These secret societies. There was no record of any Egyptian language original from which they were derived, and it is clear from both their style and their vocabulary that they could not have been composed without the conceptual vocabulary and rhetoric developed by the Greek philosophers in the 4th century BC. It's all Greek, Hermetic teachings, Masonic teachings. Continuing in the book, it says here, a striking quality of Freemasonry, it's its imaginative attachment to the religion and symbolism of the Egyptians. The Egypt to which the Masons referred to, of course, an imaginary one, but this was the Egypt that was rediscovered in the Renaissance for convenience, all right? It was an imaginary one, the one they taught us. I shall call it mystical Egypt to distinguish it from the historical Egypt that was first explored scientifically and understood only in the 19th century. They're talking about when they actually went into that place over there, they call it Egypt he's talking about. But other than that, the ancient one, they didn't know anything about that. It was all imaginary. Listen to what they're telling you. Remember, they didn't know how Egypt started. It was a legacy. Remember, it's all a mystery. That's what they told us all our life. So again, she's going to call it a mystical Egypt. European writers learned about mystical Egypt from the writings of the church fathers. They knew the Hermetic treatise known as Asclepius because it had survived in Latin version, and they supposed that it was one of the books of Hermes to which Clement of Alexandria referred in his description of the procession of Egyptian priests. So around 1460, when a Greek manuscript containing most of the Hermetic treatises was brought to Florence, Cosimo de' Medici thought that it was more important to translate them than the works of Plato because Egypt was before Greece. Hermes was earlier than Plato. As a result of this huge historical error, the Hermetic corpus was given serious attention, and its fictions were widely accepted as truth. All right, Hermetic teachings, remember, all that comes from Thoth. Although the theology of Hermetica, now why keep saying Thoth? What's the significance of Thoth? You're saying, well, Thoth is Egyptian. No, Thoth is actually what? He said it himself. From where? Atlantis, or in the Book of the Dead, he's a Westerner. He's a Western from a distant Western land. He was from a land where he lived in a city and a lake, and there was 2 volcanoes there. There were volcanoes in the city and the lake, right? That doesn't exist in Egypt today. There's no volcanoes there. You get what I'm telling you? So Thoth, he known the Emerald Tablets, he was Atlantean. All right, where's Atlantis? So-called Atlantis. We're talking about ancient America. We're talking about the Western Ethiopians, as the Greeks would call the Amarukas, the Western Ethiopia. Continuing in the book, not out of Africa. It says here, although after 1614 it became known that the books of Hermes were not what they appeared to be, and some 200 years after that, it was shown definitely that Horapollo's interpretation of hieroglyphics were wrong. The fundamental notions of Egypt expressed in these works and in the Renaissance philosophy connected with them were preserved in Freemasonry. The Masons believed that their initiation rituals was dated from the earliest times and that it was modeled on the mysteries of Egypt and of other ancient countries. They preserved, as part of their own secret symbolism, alchemical signs, again, alchemy, signs and hieroglyphics, that is, hieroglyphics as interpreted by Horapollo. One of these is familiar to everyone in this country. It is the Great Seal of the United States, the unfinished pyramid, whose detached top is an eye surrounded by brilliant rays. Some of our founding fathers were Freemasons, including George Washington himself. The Treasury Department now explains that the pyramid is unfinished because the government is new, and that a sunburst and the eye above the pyramid standing for the deity. Why did they choose these particular symbols? As Masons, they wished to emphasize their connection with the great civilization of Egypt. The explanation of the eye surrounded by a sunburst can be found in Horapollo. The eye of the hawk symbolizes sublimity and divinity, and it is associated with the sun because of the sharp-sighted rays of its vision. In Masonic symbolism, an eye and a triangle radiating rays of light stands for the grand architect of the universe, the architect. So we have this supposed Freemasonry of the ancient Egyptians, which really came about in the 1700s. All right, again, this is all from the Hermetic libraries, right? We already learned about Hermeticism and where that comes out of. In this book says here from Manly P. Hall, most of you know a lot of this esoteric, uh, following of these people like Manly P. Hall and Aleister Crowley and all that. It says here Freemasonry of the ancient Egyptians. It says here there are two sections of this volume, each of distinct significance. The first is Hall's essay Freemasonry of the ancient Egyptians, which is principally analysis of the Osiris legend. We're given some references to Atlantean civilization. The analysis is sober and comprehensive, but the most worthwhile part is Hall's own proposed interpretation, which constitutes a few final pages of the essay. Again, all these ancient Egyptian teachings that we had, it always has been based upon this Europeanized view or this Masonic view of what they pictured ancient Egypt like and their legends, right? And legend. All right, so it says the second part of the book is publication of the Krata Repoa. Now, this is important, the Krata Repoa. What's the Krata Repoa? All right, much love and respect to Lotus. Lotus for the knowledge, for the drop. Lotus put me on to the Krata Repoa and how they are basically very influential to a lot of other secret organizations or societies or orders, the Krata Repoa, in particular the Rosicrucians. We're going to see. It says an 18th century manuscript purporting to detail the initiatory system of ancient Egypt. All right, supposedly. So this came about when? The 18th century, was that 1700s? Right, 1700s. It was purporting supposedly to detail how it was in ancient Egypt. Krata Report first appeared anonymously in German in the late 18th century, drawn on a wide range of classical sources for its details. Some of those sources were sympathetic to the ancient mysteries, but others were certainly hostile. Given the strict laws of secrecy that surrounded the classical rites, we can only assume that the best informed and most sympathetic accounts from antiquity were never disclosed. The English text published by Hall is based on John Darker's translation from the French of Anton Baillieu, who published his version in 1778, 1700s. All right, that's when this all started, this whole ancient Egyptian perspective that they gave us. In the Krata Repoa, all right, it says here, or initiations into the ancient secret society of the Egyptian priest. 1785. Look at this. Nick Farrell, Rome, 2009. He translated it. It was written in the 1700s. Says the introduction. This small and largely forgotten work was influential in the development of the Western mystery tradition. Western mystery traditions of the mystery schools, the secret orders, concepts, and the belief in the idea of a particular type of initiation system or the mysteries were first formed by this text. All right, Hermetic. Historically, its claims are bogus or unlikely, but have been upheld by groups that used it as a template, including the European esoteric Freemasonic groups. These in turn influenced the English-speaking Rosicrucian orders, all of them. The Rosicrucians, we're going to see who was under the Rosicrucians, including the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Hermetic Order. This is Aleister Crowley and all these people that were in it. I forget what this means, but this is another order of Aleister Crowley that was in the ancient Masonic order of the Rosicrucians, and we're going to read a book of theirs letting us know that ancient Egypt was really in America. Builders of the Aditum and Dion Fortune. The book was popular in Germany, and I was given a German copy by the Sodalitas Rosicrucis and Solis Alae. But I just wanted you guys to know Krata Report. This is what they're getting all this ancient Egyptian Freemasonry and influence in these orders and the Rosicrucians. And we continue to have this website here, the squaremagazine.com. It says Freemasonry and Egyptomania. Look at this image right here. Freemasonry and Egyptomania. It says here, however, the Egyptian Rite says, however, probably the largest influence on Freemasonry with regards to its possible Egyptian roots were the free thinkers of the Age of Enlightenment. in Europe during the mid to late 1700s. Again, in the 1700s, a revival of the Renaissance, Hermetism, Hermetic teachings, right? Hermetism and alchemy. Alchemy again became the rigor with irregular offshoots of Masonry sprouting across the continent. Much of the Egyptian revival, Freemasonry, spirituality, and theory was in fact merely a mixture of Christianity, Judaism, Kabbalah, and alchemy. Kabbalah, Kabbalistic, Kabbalah. It's all the same. It's all from the Kratar report. It's all from this 1700s Masonic mythology, right? Freemasonic mythology, as we learned earlier. A mixture with mixing a little bit of Christianity, Judaism, Kabbalah, and alchemy, none of which had any proven basis in the roots of actual ancient Egypt. None of them can prove they were talking about ancient Tamari, the real Tamari, or what they created this idea out of Egypt, this place that they were envisioning, this beloved land, Tamari, this beloved land, this promised land, this ancient fertile soil of a great river, a great place, right? Civilization that had plenty of corn and all that. They were envisioning, they created this Masonic mythology and created this Egypt, this Greek version of Egypt, right? But there's nothing to prove their basis in the ancient roots, and we're more from a romanticized notion than factual base, all right? This core group of European Masons were proponents of the purported esoteric origin of the order. They added Freemasonry to the melting pot of traditions, religions, and mystical thought that had been brewing since the Renaissance, including the idea that alchemy and the Hermetic arts had filtered down from the teachings of ancient Egypt. They made that up. They brought that out in the 1700s. They made it up. They said it started in Egypt. They made that up. You can start to see the pattern. There's a lot of people saying this, showing you. The concept of ancient initiatory or mystery schools was too enticing to pass up, and it became the focus point of various new Masonic rituals with a supposedly Egyptian theme. The combination of liturgy, the invocation of a deity, and Freemasonry was present in various new rituals. The Rite of Mizraim, 1738, Martinez de Pasqua's Order of Ilus Cohen, 1767, Cagliostro's Egyptian Rite, 1784, and later a variant on Mizraim's The Rite of Memphis, 1838, which further morphed into the ancient and primitive Rite of Memphis, Mizraim, in 1889. You see, it started getting popular during these times with these orders, these secret societies. There was no real connection, people. Listen, there was no real connection, all you Pan-Africans. There's no real connection to ancient Egypt or Tamari or over here in America within any of these rituals. The etymology of many of the Egyptian words are often portmanteaus or corruptions of existing mystical phrases, or in other cases, inventions by the authors. Inventions by the authors, the Greek words, most of them. This is further compounded when one considers the language of hieroglyphics had not yet been deciphered until much later via the crucial breakthrough of Thomas Young and Jean-Francois Champollion, and even then were not widely published. So that was a big point right there. You got to emphasize on that, right? Listen, if you guys don't understand, Europeans supposedly didn't know anything about Egypt or even how to read or interpret hieroglyphics before the 1830s. You understand that? So how are they interpreting ancient Egypt in the 1700s if they couldn't read it? This is what he's talking about. How are they deciphering stuff? They hadn't even learned how to supposedly decipher it, because they only learned it through the supposed Rosetta Stone that they found, right? Napoleon and the French. Now that's a whole mystery right there, all right, that we're going to get into and investigate. But again, he made a point right here. How did they have all this knowledge of ancient Egypt where they couldn't even read hieroglyphics, supposedly, in mainstream? From these facts, one can logically surmise that at the time most of these rituals were written, they contain no evidence-based wisdom of the ancients. Much of the content had its roots in hybridized blend of biblical, Kabbalistic, or alchemical symbolism. The Rite of Memphis even managed to combine elements from Templarism and chivalry with Egyptian and alchemical symbolism. All right? It's all Masonic. It has nothing to do with being from Africa or a Pan-African. It's all Masonic symbolism. Quasi-Masonic orders were incredibly influential amongst the occultists and more spiritual Freemasons, and by the fin de siècle in the early 1900s, the New Age had well and truly dawned, the melting pot on the verge of boiling over. From the traditional history of regular Freemasonry, a many-headed hydra had been created, one that would invariably lead Freemasonry as an organization into centuries of ill repute. So that's how they put themselves on the map. You see, yo, now we're ancient. We go all the way back to Egypt. We've been in order. We've been in clubs. No, they stole that knowledge. We know. We already know that Freemasonic is the study of sacred geometry, of architecture, how to build the pyramids and all that. You know, mound building, right? Tolteci. So they stole this knowledge and they were like, okay, you know what? We gotta act like we're from way back. We gotta put ourselves in history. That's what they did when they created this ancient Egypt. So they created their reputation. To add insult to injury, Aleister Crowley. All right, Aleister Crowley, the figure later dubbed the wickedest man in the world, would attach himself to the perimeters of Freemasonry. Why is he called the wickedest man in the world? From the fusion of two rites of Mizraim and Memphis and the ensuing intervention of John Jarker and Theodore Roos, the rites metamorphosed once again into the quasi-Masonic mixed gender Ordo Templi Orientis. All right, that's what the OTO meant. Again, that was from all these people as the founders. You see, it's all based on the same kind of Sococrata report or this ancient Egyptian Freemasonry, which is really holistic Hermetic teachings that were revived in the 1700s. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was another short-lived esoteric Masonic styled order founded by Freemasons William Wynne Westcott and Samuel Lyndon McGregor Mathers, both members of the Societas Rosicruciana. You see, Rosicrucian in Anglia. Aside from the rituals, the European Freemasons lapped up anything that hinted of Egypt. Jean-Abbé Terrasson's novel Life of Sethos, taken from private memoirs of the ancient Egyptians, 1731, was an elaborate work of fictional fantasy. It's a fictional book, all right, and was a source of inspiration for Mozart's opera The Magic Flute, which combined both masonry and ancient Egyptian symbolism. Mozart also wrote incidental music for Thamos, King of Egypt, a play by Tobias Philipp, Baron von Gebler. Count Cagliostro, creator of the Egyptian rite and self-styled Grand Copta, held seances in his Egyptian-themed salon in Paris. You hear all these people just playing make-believe. Goethe, 1749 to 1832, even wrote a play about it, all in 1792, entitled Der Grosse Copta, the Grand Copt. All right, so you want to fact check any of this, feel free to let me know how it goes. All right, so it's very deep. Again, there's no historical basis on any of this as to lead to ancient roots. Beginning just real quick in this website, says here the AMR or the AMORC, the Rosicrucian order, says the ancient and mystical order of the Rosicruces. And just to correlate, it says here the Rosicrucian movement, of which the Rosicrucian order, AMORC, is the most prominent modern representative, has its roots in mystery traditions, philosophy, and myths of ancient Egypt, dating back to the approximate 1500 BC. So that's the hijack. All right, we just realized, we just read, it was actually from the 1700s. So this is what they were trying to do. This is how they get their initiates and recruit people, talking about it's from the 1500s BC. All right, so well, this brings us over to, I could keep going about the links of Freemasonry and the ancient Egyptian, you know, perspective they gave us, its whole history that they gave us, and the connection of all these Hermetic teachings in ancient Greeks, really telling us the story. But it brings us to Kemetism, right? We know Kemet is black soil. We just saw the word definition, the etymology. You know, it has nothing to do with a landmass in Africa. So what is Kemetism then? If it has nothing to do with a landmass in Africa, what is Kemetism? Now, there's three forms of this, all right? Let's go over this real quick. It says Kemetism, from Kemet, the native name of ancient Egypt, right? Native, remember that means black soil. So they're not talking about Africa. It's a term for neo-pagan revivals. A term for neo-pagan neo-pagan, new pagans, revivals of ancient Egyptian religion, which developed in the United States from the 1970s. All right, this came about in the 1970s. This ain't ancient at all. There are three main groups, each of which take a different approach to their beliefs, ranging from eclectic to polytheistic reconstructionists. Now, the first one says here is Kemetic Wicca. Wicca or witchcraft, right? Kemetic Wicca, also Tamari Wicca from Tamari, land of the two riverbanks. Another native term for Egypt, Tamari, is an eclectic approach combining ancient Egyptian elements with Wicca, a religion based on pagan practices which utilizes witchcraft. All right, does that have to do with anything? Now, this one says Kemetic revivalism and reconstruction. A reconstructionist which include academic approaches informed by Egyptology, notably Kemetic orthodoxy. All right, now Kemetic teachings and orthodoxy, though the actual religion of Kemetic orthodoxy is actually funded by Tamara El-Suida, a white lady, and Kerry Wishner's Akhet Hawat Hawar. And this is Tamara El-Suida right here, as you can see. All right, this is Tamara. She's the founder of Kemetic orthodoxy or religion. And yeah, she'd be having people dress up, you know, but that's her right here. Yes, this white lady, the founder of Kemetic orthodoxy, Kemetic religion, right? Tamara El-Suida, okay? Now the third they say is the Asr Asid of Ra-Un Nefer Amen. All right, it's a syncretic Pan-Africanist approach targeted at the African diaspora, targeted at you, so-called African American, at the African diaspora. History and demographics says Kemetic revivalism appears in the 1970s with the rise of neo-paganism in the United States. The Church of the Eternal Source, promoting New Age receptions of Egyptian spiritualism, founded in 1970, and the Asr Asid Society, promoting Pan-Africanism, founded in 1973. All right, that started when? In 1973, Asr Asid Society. Who is this and what does that have to do with any of this? And Pan-Africanism and Kemetic today, Kemetic teachings. It says Tamara Suida's Kemetic orthodoxy, remember the white lady, following in the late 1980s, and Kerry Wisner's Akhet Kemetic reconstructionism in the 1990s. All right, this is where they get all this Kemetic stuff from. The movement is composed of a mixture of New Age, Wicca, and Afrocentrism. The latter in the context of Afrocentrist Egyptology, which emerged in the United States in the 1990s. You're stuck in the 1990s. When you're Pan-African, that's Afrocentrist Egyptology. This emerged in the 1990s, making ancient Egypt a black culture. All right, oh, you see what they're saying? So-called black. This correlated says here in the late 1980s, Kemetism had become so popular in the United States that its adherents began to organize, create institutions, and develop different branches of the faith. In particular, an early leader of the movement was Tamara El-Suida, who will ultimately become responsible for the development of Kemetic orthodoxy. All right, personal Kemetic shrine. Says here, as a college student, Suida was a follower of Wiccan rituals. She was a witch, Wiccan, during a Wiccan initiation, right? She experienced a powerful connection with what she later understood to be several ancient Egyptian deities. She said she got in contact with the ancient pharaohs. That's just like the other, like Blavatsky and all that, Aleister Crowley and all them. They said they talked to these ancient Egyptian deities. Are these really fallen angels? What are these things they're talking to? This led her to deepen her knowledge and interest in Kemetism, and ultimately she founded Kemetic orthodoxy in 1989. We got the other one, that's the Asr Asid Society of Ra-Un Nefer Amen. So first of all, who is Ra-Un Nefer Amen? It says here, Ra-Un Nefer Amen, born Rogelio Alcides Strong, on January 1944, is the founder of the Asr Asid Society, a Pan-African spiritual organization dedicated to providing Afrocentric-based spiritual training to people of African descent. All right, so to African descent, Afrocentric-based spiritual, Afrocentric, really? Is that what you guys are teaching in the Asr Asid Society, Afrocentric stuff? Or Afrocentric based spirituality, really? Are you sure it's not no Greek Hermetic stuff? Are you sure it's not none of that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Rogelio Alcides Strong. So we're in the Encyclopedia of Black Studies. Encyclopedia of Black Studies. So it says here that Ra-Un Nefer Amen I was born Rogelio, again, Alcides Strong. Rogelio in Panama, so he's Panamanian. Rogelio, that's a Spanish name, right? Rogelio, all right? The so-called Ra-Un Nefer Amen I was actually a Panamanian born Rogelio Alcides Strong. And real quick, Strong history, family crest, coat of arms. Strong is a Scottish and Irish surname. Strong is an Irish and Scottish surname. So when I say Strong, and he's a Pan-African now, and now he was born in Panama. Now you tell me, can you prove to me he goes all the way back to Africa? And I says he was raised by his mother and stepfather. So this ain't his dad. The Strong is not him, according to what it says here. His mom is Goody Koo, and Bertram Strong is the dad. Goody Koo and Bertram Strong. So I did a little bit of genealogy. I can't find anything on a Goody Koo or that word or anything to do in Panama. Nothing. Even the Bertram Strong is difficult to find because this is supposed stepfather. He attended the Conservatory of Music, where at age 6 he studied piano and music theory. As a child, he also read periodicals and texted his grandfather's Panama's first dental surgeon. So his grandfather was Panama's first dental surgeon. That's a very important job. These are people who are well off. This is not a peasant poor family. Slave family doesn't sound like yet. All right, his grandfather was Panama's first dental surgeon who had become nearly blind. He read to his grandfather Times Magazine, Newsweek newspaper equivalent to New York Times, and philosophy texts such as Plato's Republic. As a Strong attended a high school that produced Panama's presidents. So he went to a very elite high school, Strong. He's from a well-off family. You hear what I'm showing you, right? Where he studied history, political science, music, and literature. He read the works of Che Guevara, Pablo Neruda, and Jose Marti. As the youngest member of the Federation of Panamanian Students, he protested with the peasants who fought against Panama ceding land to Costa Rica. After coming to America with his parents in 1960, he protested against the Vietnam War with Students for a Democratic Society. He also continued his spiritual search in 1962. He completely changed his diet after learning about the effects of vitamins and minerals on health. He concluded that divine spiritual potency combined with healthy living could solve the world's problems. During the 1960s, he participated in various Black Power organizations, Black Power, until he established his own group based on achieving higher realms of consciousness. Osir members attempt to live according to divine laws from ancient theologies. All right, so Rogelio, this Panamanian guy, founded the Osir Society, another word for Osiris, Osir, right? Supposedly, so.
All right, I just want to show you guys, hold on, what he looks like. All right. Now, these are some of his books. Metu became famous, and it's like, it's a whole religion now, like literally. Oh, they try to say they're not religious, but they literally act very religious with it. They got priests and all that. So this is image of him. Let me just show you guys. Man, there were so many. There you go. So that's him right there. Rogelio. Rogelio. Yeah, so he's been out there. So somebody in the chat said they met him in New York, Brooklyn, but you know, yeah, these people go around talking all these years, all these times. They never showed you one source, but you believed it, right? You loved the hype because it was music to your ears back then. You'd rather be an Egyptian king, noble, whatever, than an African slave, right? Just an African slave. That's what you thought back then. That's why it was easy to believe people like this. They can say whatever they want, sound really smart and good, and you just follow it without verifying. All right. And I'm not just, trying to talk shit. I'm just being real, man. Like, it's a human nature. We tend to become followers sometimes instead of leaders, our own leaders, and verifying people and holding people accountable, not understanding what real research is or a real primary source is, so you don't even know what to ask these persons to debunk them. Anyways, let's keep going.
Just again, it says here that it's a Pan-African religious organization. It's a religious organization. Again, religious religious. A lot of Pan-Africans try to like come at the Hebrews or anybody using religion, and they're also a religious organization founded in 1973 by Nefer for the purpose of providing members a societal framework through which the Kemetic spiritual way of life can be lived, and to promote Rosicrucian values. Again, Rosicrucian values, the Rosicrucian Masonic order. Remember, the Rosicrucian comes from the Krata Rapoa. Remember, that's all Hermetic teachings. Remember, that's all Freemasonry. This is the foundation of all this supposed ancient Egypt, which was myths based on mythology, which was all Freemasonry symbology. So, wait a minute, Author Society, Pan-African. Wait, promoting Rosicrucian values? Rosicrucian values. You seeing this? All right, so we're in encyclopedia.com, and it says here the Author Society. It says the Author Society, a Rosicrucian body. All right, a Rosicrucian order, a Freemasonic, esoteric, this mythological ancient Egypt, this mythological, this fake Egypt, its Hermetic teachings. This Rosicrucian body, especially oriented to meet the needs of African Americans, was founded in the mid-1970s by R.A. Strong, Rogelio. Okay, his name was Rogelio. He's mi compa de Panama. Strong, formerly the head of the Rosicrucian Anthropological League. He was what? R.A. Strong, Rogelio Strong was what? The head of the Rosicrucian Anthropological League in New York City. All right, he was the head of it. Did you know that?
Okay.
Oh, you thought it was all about Africa and African spirituality, right? You thought he was just bringing back the ancestors' religion, right? You thought he was he was just, promoting Africa, right? But he's from Panama, from a well-off family in Panama, right? With an Irish, Scottish surname, Spanish name, right? And he's a Rosicrucian follower, esoteric. When you go into the study of who he is, he was very esoteric. He taught a lot of, like they're saying, he had a lot of esoteric writings, and he was like a yogi. He was all into the whole Hindu culture as well, very yogi, meditative, Hermetic teachings, all that. Rogelio, yes, very little information can be found on him. Trust me, I tried. All right, but he was definitely the head of the Rosicrucian Anthropological League in New York City. It says under his adopted name, Nefer Amen, has written a number of occult texts on Hermetic, again Hermetic, again Hermes, Thoth, and Eastern religions. What does he know about this? You know he's a Freemason. He also developed a unique tarot card deck.
So he wrote Hermetic books, huh? And you guys learned about Hermetics yesterday, right? Or if you haven't, make sure to watch the 6-hour long video we did yesterday. You have the full context. You see who you're dealing with, who are the founders of these movements. All right, the hijack is real. That's what I've been trying to tell you.
The program of the society is directed to people of African origin, and its literature regularly integrates more familiar cult themes with material specific to African American, emphasizing lessons in African American history and the accomplishments of Africans. All right, so he's basically letting you know straight up that he targeted so-called black people in America. He targeted with this Rosicrucian teachings, esoteric, hermetic occult teachings. So the Rosicrucian Anthroposophic League, Harlem, all right? It says that it's filed to be a nonprofit corporation on March 8th, 1935. That's how long it's been there, since 1935. So yeah, it's real. The Rosicrucian Anthroposophic League. Continuing, it says here, the Rosicrucian Anthroposophical League. It says the Rosicrucian Anthroposophical League was founded in 1932 by Samuel Richard Parchman, an astrologer and occultist who trained with Max Heindel. All right, who's Max Heindel? During the 1920s, Parchman became a leader in the Rosicrucian Fellowship, founded by Heindel, which published his early writings. However, he broke away from the fellowship after Heindel's death and formed an independent organization out of the former Fellowship Center in San Francisco. Parchman is best remembered as the author of classic textbooks of astrology, mundane, and spiritual, which was used by many astrologers not affiliated with the League and later reprinted by the American Federation of Astrologers. All right, so let me just go down here. It says here that after Parchment's lifetime, League centers developed in both coasts, but in recent years, little has been heard of it. Its present status is unknown. It says here that in the 1970s, though, the New York League became the independent Osir-Osset Society. The New York part of the what? The Rosicrucian Anthropological Society became the Osir-Osset Society. Rosicrucians, the Rose Cross, all right, the Rosicrucians and all the history behind it. All right, that's the hijack. It's going to talk a little bit about some of the fraternities of the Rosicrucians. This is one of them. Several Rosicrucian groups have direct lineage from the Theosophical Society, Madame Blavatsky, right? The largest one being the Rosicrucian Fellowship funded by Max Heindel. So he was coming from Blavatsky's teachings. Max Heindel, who actually helped influence what? The other Rosicrucian Anthroposophic Society League. Heindel, born Carl Louis von Grashoff, was an engineer whose occult interest led him to the Theosophical Society shortly after the beginning of the century. By 1905, he was a Theosophical lecturer. Then in 1907, he traveled to Germany, where he appeared to him several times, one whom he described as an elder brother of the Rosicrucian order. He was sent to work with a knowledgeable teacher believed by most to have been Rudolf Steiner, founder of the Anthroposophical Society. You see where all this is coming from, and this turned to the Osir-Osset Society, Pan-Africanism, Kemetic. Listen, so what is the point, Kurimeo? Well, the point is, where's all that so-called African history when all this was just mysticism? Even the other dude, Diop, remember he was from the Muslim mystic order, mysticism, mystic order, who's going to lead back to the same people. Same people, these Persians, these same people, these Theosophical Society of Blavatsky, it's the same people she learned from that went out into the Muslim Islam world. Same people. All right? So where's ancient Egypt really when the supposed real one is all a myth? It's all Freemasonry symbolism. It's all Hermetic teachings. It's all hijack. So Ra'u Nefer Amen, right? So what's his significance? Well, to accomplish this goal, he has written and published several books on the subject of ancient Egyptian philosophy and spiritual culture, most notably the Metu Neter and the Metu Neter Oracle, the Metu Neter. All right. So I clicked on Metu Neter and it brought me to Egyptian hieroglyphics. How does that happen? Right? So I actually got volume 1 of Metu Neter, volume 1 here by Ra'u Nefer, aka Rogelio, mi compa Rogelio de Panama. Rogelio. Rogelio, man, he was from an elite family in Panama. I want to see his African genealogy. Somebody please prove it to me. Now, in his book Metu Neter volume 1 by Ra'u Nefer, right here, I just want you to I wanted to point out something. Again, shout out to Lotus for pointing this out to me, that a lot of these translations that they're getting, they're so-called hieroglyphics translations and interpretations, like these Rosicrucian, these esoteric teachers, right? These Freemasons, it's actually from a lot of these same people, as in their same people, Germans, these Jewish people, these Germans, Nazi people. Like one of them is Adolf Ehrman. So Adolf Ehrman and Hermann Grappel says the hieroglyphic dictionary of Ehrman and Grappel in the 6 original volumes. This is a translation of it again. It's in the 1800s, and this is in German right here. So this is again written by that guy Ehrman and Grappel. It says that this dictionary is one of the greatest intellectual achievements of the 20th century, albeit known to few outside of Egyptology. Indeed, it is probably the greatest single achievement ever accomplished in Egyptological textual studies. All right, so again, they give the credit to these two guys right here, this Jewish German guy, Adolf Ehrman, and this Nazi Hermann Grappel. Yeah, he was a Nazi. Yeah, so this guy's a Nazi. So they're probably occultists too. May have some Masonic connections, but they're giving credit to, you know, translating it really good. And a lot of the today's modern sources or references is from their dictionary. So I just wanted to show that Raul Nefer right here, Rogelio, is quoting, right? This is his book, Metu Neter, Volume 1. It says, I will quote from Life in Ancient Egypt by Adolf Ehrman, Dover Press, which will prove very enlightening. You're going to be very enlightened by Adolf Ehrman, Rogelio's telling us. All right, so he's learning from Adolf Ehrman, right? Rogelio, let me show you again. Metu Neter, this is Metu Neter, Volume 1, right? Volume 1 by Ra'un Amen Nefer, right? He's quoting Adolf Ehrman. It says, which will be enlightening. All right, he's quoting Adolf Ehrman. Adolf Ehrman. So again, this all happened after the 1830s, right? This translation. So how did these people in the 1700s, how did they know anything about ancient Egypt? They couldn't even read it. If these guys were one of the first people to supposedly, translate it good and create a dictionary for people to, have a reference. So this is another of his book. It says Egyptian Grammar with Table Signs and Bibliography, Exercises for Reading and Glossary by Adolf Ehrman, translated by James Henry Breasted, all right, from 1894. And just some examples of what's in the book, right, as you can see. So we're getting all the translation from this German guy. Now another of the sources that we get a lot of the hieroglyphic definitions or dictionary translations of the so-called, supposed hieroglyphics is from E.A. Wallace Budge, or Sir Ernest Alfred Wallace Budge. His dictionary is very thorough. I've used it before in some of my videos. For example, right here we got Tamara, the land of Mera. Example, Egypt, Tamari, Tamara. You see the cross, all right? You see the symbol with the cross. Very significant, right? We already got that. It means civilized, the civilized land, Tamara. And again, E.A. Wallace Budge, all right? We just saw his dictionary. Egyptologist, Orientalist, and philologist who worked on the British Museum. He was the curator there for a while. He had a lot of connections. He was knighted. He was knighted for his service to Egyptology. Knighted. Not just anybody gets knighted. Now down here it says Budge was also interested in the paranormal and believed in spirits and hauntings. Budge had a number of friends in the Ghost Club of British Library Manuscript Collections, Ghost Club Archives, a group in London committed to the study of alternative religions and the spirit world. He told his many friends stories of hauntings and other uncanny experiences. Many people in his day who were involved with the occult and spiritualism, all right, people that were involved with that, a lot of people were, after losing their faith in Christianity, were dedicated to Budge's work, particularly his translation of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Such writers as the poet William Butler Yeats. William Butler Yeats? Really? And James Joyce studied and were influenced by this work of ancient religion. So William E. Budge translated the Book of the Dead, right? And William Butler Yeats and this guy were influenced by, who are these guys? So Y.B. Yeats, William Butler Yeats, an Irish poet, dramatic prose writer, and one of the foremost figures of the 20th century literature. Oh, really? So during 1885, Yeats was involved in the formation of the Dublin Hermetic Order. Hermetic teachings, Hermetic. See how it all goes around circle with these people. They're all influenced by the same people, same teachings. The society held its first meeting on June 16th, with Yeats acting as its chairman. The same year, the Dublin Theosophical Lodge was opened in conjunction with Brahmin Mohini Chatteri, who traveled from the Theosophical Society. All right, it says Theosophy is a religion established in the United States during the late 19th century. It was founded primarily by the Russian immigrant Helena Blavatsky. All right, Blavatsky, and then her connection goes all the way back to Jamal Afghani, the Persian, the Sufi, just like Diop is a Sufi mystic. It all goes round circle. All these people are agents. All this Pan-Africanism based on this whole Masonic symbolism and Hermetic teachings, Theosophical, this fake Egyptian Freemasonic mythology. It says Yeats attended his first seance the following year. He later became heavily involved in the Theosophy and with Hermetism. Hermetism. Remember, we learned about that Hermetrismetus, particularly with eclectic Rosicrucianism. Rosicrucian, just like the Austrian Society, just like Rogelio was a Rosicrucian of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. During seances held from 1912, a spirit calling himself Leo Africanus apparently claimed that it was Jeet's daemon. Demon? What is a demon? It's an ancient Greek daemon, which originally referred to a lesser deity or guiding spirit, such as the demons of ancient Greek religion and mythology, and a later Hellenistic religion and philosophy. Right? Demon sounds like daemon or demon or anti-self, inspiring some of the speculations in Paramila. So you see how these people are into the occult. All right, you see that all goes around. All right, so before we get off this topic now, just want to give a sample. One Pan-African, famous Pan-African. Most of these Pan-Africans, they have the same story. You could do future videos on all of them. It will take me hours to talk about all of them, but this is just one example.
And Martin, Martin Delaney, future video. All right. I hope you guys understood and saw the point. Who can basically summarize the point of today's video in the chat? Please do. For anybody that didn't understand the point, you guys can help me out with that. All right. And that's it for today, guys. I told you it all deals with a lot of false doctrines. You see, this is just another branch of it. I got a lot more coming. That's why I did. I just wanted to redo a lot of these Hermetic teachings that we've gone over, and you guys can see how it all comes together. And you see how they all part of this circle of mystics, Freemasons, Hermeticists. And don't forget, we did the video on Rastafarism and literally the same thing. The founders, right? We're not talking about the people practicing whatever, what they believe. I'm talking about the founders. Who are they? What is their background? All right. Appreciate you guys tuning in again today, making the time to be here. Thank you for that. Shout out to everybody that was here in the live chat. All right. Appreciate you guys. All right. Metu, Nefer, Kemetic signs, all that, a lot of that so-called African signs, that's all Hermetics. They're not even African. And it's very recent things, 1700s and up. And the more Pan-African versions, literally from the 1900s, literally 1990s. All right, very new stuff. All right. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Wow.